I got laid off from my job. I had a terrible relationship. I had my appendix was removed. And during that, they found I had a tumor in my adrenal gland. Like all these things were out of my control. And I felt miserable that I had nothing to show for all the years that I had been alive up until that point. I hit my goal.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a big YouTuber. Hit it, then another year goes by and you're like, okay, now what? So I was there. I'm not saying it's the same situation, but, before I started doing any kind of other project, because you got to remember that for me, that was still 8 years ago for me. So there were many years there after I hit my goal, and I was happy that I hit my goal. And then I got progressively sadder because there was nowhere left to climb. And it took a very long time for me to realize that it wasn't that I wanted to make movies. It wasn't that I wanted to make a choose your own adventure. It's that I thought back to why I actually started in the first place. And why I actually started was not to be a big YouTuber. It's because everything in my life was out of my control. Every single thing that was going on in my life before I started YouTube was out of my control. I had nothing to hold on to. I got laid off from my job. I had a terrible relationship. I had my appendix was removed. And during that, they found I had a tumor in my adrenal gland. Like all these things were out of my control. And I felt miserable that I had nothing to show for all the years that I had been alive up until that point. And so I was like, if I don't find something, I will never be happy. And that's why I started YouTube. And it took me, even after I hit my goal on YouTube, and I had kind of thought about it, this is still like 3 years. I'm condensing a lot into a very long period of time. But even that, it started with baby steps of like, okay, if I want to make something and take control of my life and do something that I feel is fulfilling, what is that? So I just did the same thing when I started YouTube. I didn't start with YouTube. I tried a bunch of things. I tried making a comic, programming a game. I tried learning different languages. I tried, making art. I switched majors from engineering to art school just to see if it would make a difference. I tried thing again and again. I started wanting to do Freddie W stuff and Corridor. Didn't work. Didn't know how to do any of that.
And eventually you got around to it in one way.
Eventually, yeah. But with what I do now, it started because my brother said, hey, some people like to watch people play video games. And I was like, all right, I'll try that. Don't think it'll go anywhere. And that's all it was. So it wasn't that I had like this burning passion for, reacting and playing games. I love playing games and I like doing that stuff. But it was about, hey, this is something that I can do. And at that point I could do nothing. So I might as well start here. And then the same kind of adventure started again once I realized I hit that goal. Very long time horizons, a lot of time to self-discovery, but it's like, yeah, that's what led me to here. Is just constantly trying to find that thing I could hold on to.
Wow. That was probably the coolest thing that you could have said to Jschlatt. I feel like towards the end of this podcast, that was awesome. And I'm so glad that you shared all of that.
Oh, of course.
That was kind of beautiful.
Oh yeah, man.
So where do your ideas come from?
Because I like I said, when I've been there, I mean, like I've been there. I've been year after I had that realization, desperately trying to hold on to more, where you try it harder. I had the year after that where it's like, I don't want to do anything. I had the year after that where I looked at myself in the mirror and realized, holy fuck, I am so much older than I remember, where you see the aging happening on your face. And it's not because I'm not saying like everyone gets older. It's because of the stress I was putting on myself. And that would be fine if there was a good reason for it. If I could look at myself and be like, man, I've suffered for this, but the art I made was great.
Right.
I could look at myself in the mirror and be happy about it. But at that point, I look at myself and I was not happy because I had nothing to show for that wear on my body. It was just me trying to hold on to what was already there. And I think that's a trap that a lot of, not just like YouTubers, but a lot of people who pursue anything for themselves get into, is they find the one thing and then they hold on so tight, it crushes it in their grip and they lose any passion for it, or they'll just let go because they're like, I'm tired of holding on to this.
When you say that, do you mean like a specific like niche or something like on YouTube specifically? Because I feel like I've seen that before where it's like somebody finds a thing that works and then that kind of stops working. And then, I mean, that's how a lot of burnout happens is when the thing
keep
that you
trying.
used to do doesn't work as less anymore, but you're putting the same amount of effort in.
Yeah.
And it just wears you down.
Yeah. It's, you know, I see it with like a lot of people that specialize in like, not calling anyone out in Five Nights at Freddy's, but it was a trap that I could have fallen into.
Sure.
Because I was known as the Five Nights at Freddy's guy. If I'd only done that, that was definitely a path. And I did a lot of it. Don't get me wrong. I definitely did. But it's like, I didn't want to be known as like the guy. I really didn't. It just kind of worked out that way. There's so many other people that know so much more about the universe of Five Nights at Freddy's than I ever could.
Right.
Because they're passionate about it. And it's like, so I encourage people just to try new things just because you never know where, because you'll learn one lesson, do something that applies to something else every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that that's kind of the conversation we had when it came to ending Chuckle Sandwich. This is the second to last episode. And I think a lot of what was on our minds is it's kind of meaningful to be able to, in our position, close the book on something and call it like, okay, that's it. And maybe try something else.
Yeah.